All right, I want to welcome everybody to the show. Hope everyone is doing good on this Thursday. Um, I know we had planned on doing it like the first Friday of November, but I got to getting the itch and wanting to do it again soon, so I figured we would go ahead and do one tonight. I want to thank you guys so much for being here. Had quite a few of you waiting before we even got started, so that was pretty cool. But we'll be sitting here playing some songs for you, and we'll just be talking about the crazy world it is that we live in. One thing for certain, there's never a slow news day anymore. When I first started doing a lot of the political commentary and the stuff like that, I remember saying to myself, well, I guess I'll have to find some things to talk about. And then as time went on, I began to realize that there would never be any shortage of stuff to talk about or react to, because just when you think one thing is a news story and you're going to be talking about it for a while, the next thing you know, something else happens and takes over, and now you're having to move on to the next thing. So the biggest challenge now is making sure that I react to all of it or talk about all of it, because there's just so much going on. But thank you guys so much for being with me. Hope everyone is having a good week, having a good Thursday. I first started doing live streams like this, sitting here at my table back during the pandemic, and it was a way to stay connected with the audience while that I was, because as a musician, all the gigs got canceled, everything shut down, and we had to learn how to navigate new waters. We had to learn how to find another way to get our music out there to people, and so started setting up here at the table and going live. We called it Live at the Kitchen Table, and we made it through the pandemic doing that, and had a lot of loyal people that really stayed there with me through that time, and I appreciate all of them. And then, as time went on, after it was over, and actually after I went back to doing gigs, playing out in public and stuff again, I missed these kind of things. I thought they were pretty cool. I started missing them, and I just continued doing them. And now we're over here, doing political commentary and writing a bunch of political satirical tunes, and it's a whole lot of fun. But I'm still learning the ropes here on YouTube Live. It's a little bit different. The format's a little different than it is back when I did them on Facebook Live. So I'm hoping that I see all the comments and everything can roll in. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to kick it off. We'll start off playing a tune that I just released again. Um, this song was released back in 2018 on my album Forgotten Appalachia. It's on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, wherever it is you get music. If you look up Brandon Fulson, that's Brandon Fulson, then you can find my music there. And this tune was originally on that album. What happened was I had the album completely finished. It was all done, and I was going to release it. And the drummer went on vacation. And right about the time he went on vacation, the album was done. I just kept saying to myself, there's something missing about this album. Something seems off. I need one more piece to this puzzle. And I realized, because on this album I had talked a whole lot about drug addiction and different things like that. I remember thinking, I've never really have written a story for the survivors, for the people that actually kicks their habits and does better. And I thought that's what's missing. That's what it needs. And so I grabbed a baritone guitar and I wrote this tune. And now I was like, oh shit, I really need to get into the studio and record this tune. But the drummer was on vacation, and it was like, now what are we going to do? So I just went into the studio. I grabbed a baritone electric guitar, and my buddy John Baker grabbed an electric guitar and played some slide, did some volume swells, and we just put it out that way. And it was always one of my favorite tunes to play live. But then me and the band adopted it, and we worked up a full band version of it, started playing it that way, and people got used to hearing it that way. And so I decided to re-release it with the band playing behind me. So that's available on Spotify and iTunes, wherever it is you get your music. It's all available for you out there. But and it's under Tennessee Brando this time, so you can find it easier. And this one's called the Hillbilly Angel. Been 18 months since you kicked that demon. 6 a.m. and the baby screaming in the cold trucks. Woke up Maggie again. She still likes her reefer in the morning. Gets tired of hearing her shriek a warning. Now she's one toke away from a gateway back to sin. Works part-time down at Conley's Drive-In. Such a great time to be alive in. The old men hang around to watch her sway. Some like to flirt and some talk shitty, with pickup lines worse than Conway Twitty. She smiles through gritted teeth for her take-home pay. She left Path Fork and she headed for the crater, just to get away from all of the haters. She goes home alone, she's nobody's darling. When she smiles, she looks just like Harlan. And who'd have thought she'd ever live to tell? She's a hillbilly angel on a mountain that's blown to hell. Her figure's coming back, the family's talking. Some try to say she's out street walking, but she's out on the porch taking selfies on Instagram. Her ex-old man's out causing a riot. I heard he's back on that Jenny Crank diet. Looks back and can't believe she ever gave a damn. Well, Mama says, girl, you really need Jesus. She's too busy crushing on Norman Reedus. Besides, she can't go out on a Sunday night. Gets lost in her songs every time she hears them. Caught up in the groove and addicted to the lyrics. If anyone asks, tell them she's doing alright. Yeah, she goes home alone, ain't nobody's darling. When she talks, she sounds just like Harlan. And who'd have thought she'd ever live to tell? She's a hillbilly angel on a mountain that's blown to hell. Just a hillbilly angel on a mountain that's gone to hell. All right, that was Hillbilly Angel. And that one is available wherever it is that you get your music, whether it be Spotify or iTunes or wherever it is you may get your music. Just be sure to check it out there. Trying to be able to see my comments here. Like I said, this is all sort of new to me. And for some reason, my comments are all jumbled together. So I don't understand why. But I'm seeing a few of them. But for the most part, they're just all jumbled in there together. And when I hit this button, nothing happens. Nothing changes. So let's see what we got. Maybe this will help it. Well, hopefully that works itself out, because I do like to be able to see what it is you guys are saying. It's always cool to sit here and converse and go back and forth with you guys. But yeah, it's that one's out there under Tennessee Brando, wherever it is that you download and find your music. I've been working on a new album called Shots of Truth Volume 2. Volume 1 came out earlier this year. And so looking forward to getting Volume 2 out. We've had a really good time making it. This go around in the studio, we had... well, of course, I was there playing guitar and singing. I also had Greg Horn on the pedal steel and electric guitar. John Baker was on the bass and Brian Stansbury was on drums. And we just set up in a half circle and just recorded this album that way. Most of it was done live. I went back and recut some of my vocals and added some harmonies, things like that. But it was a whole lot of fun recording that way and getting everything down live with the band, as opposed to going back and piecing stuff together. I found it to be a lot more energetic, and it just felt more natural, you know, because that's what I'm used to doing live in front of people anyway. So it definitely seemed to be a whole lot better that way. But I wish these comments would straighten themselves out, because I do want to be able to see what it is you guys are saying. And so far, every comment is just jumbled together, and I can't see it on my end. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep playing some music, and hopefully it'll all work itself out. I'm also pretty excited to announce this. Last night I recorded a new podcast episode, which is featuring my good buddy Wayne Bledo, who is a Knoxville music journalist. Also on the show with me was John Baker, who owns the Arbor Studio where I record my music, and he plays bass and guitar, and he's multi-instrumentalist. So he's been on a whole lot of albums and produced them with me. And so it was really cool. What happened was we got in the studio, and it was just going to be me and Wayne on the show. We were going to be the only ones talking. And then as we were sitting there getting everything set up, Wayne was like, well, does it matter if I say something to John? Will that be okay if I ask John a question? And I was like, well, let's get John a mic, and we'll just, the three of us will sit here and have a conversation. So we did. And it was a really good time. It was a really good episode. I'm hopefully going to have that one out for you Monday. So just be sure to listen to that. Wherever it is you listen to podcasts. The name of the podcast, if you've never heard of it, it's called If These Hills Could Talk. That's Tennessee Brando. And I've been having a lot of cool guests on recently. I had Coach D, another Midas Touch contributor. He was on a recent episode. I had Texas Paul. I had Superman Todd, who's one of my favorite TikTokers. Also had Gloria Johnson, who's running for Senate against Marsha Blackburn. So we've had quite a few really cool people on it with me, and it's been a great time. But this episode with Wayne and John was really cool because it was just three friends sitting around shooting the breeze. And there was one section of the show of the podcast that I'm sure you'll hear when it comes out. But we were talking about politics and how that it is divisive, and I will admit that it is all day long. But we were talking about how that it feels different these days when you're talking politics than it did, say, 15, 20 years ago. Years ago, you could debate people, and you could have conversations with people you disagreed with, and you could disagree about certain things. There were certain things you could disagree, and there was a two-sided argument to it. But as time went on, the world just kept getting crazier and crazier, and pretty soon, to me, the Republican Party is completely unrecognizable. And so many people that I thought were reasonable people over the years, they just kept going further to the right and just kept embracing everything. I remember back when Trump first started, like back when he was first running, and I can remember, like, I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. Like, this is the stupidest thing that I've ever seen. Surely to goodness the Republican Party won't embrace this, I remember thinking that. And then when he did the whole thing about John McCain, talking about how he preferred, soldiers that didn't get caught, I thought, oh man, Republicans will never go for this. They will stand up to this, but no, they just doubled down and buried John McCain that much harder. And then, he makes the whole grab him by the pussy comment, and I'm thinking, man, now, these are the people that used to tell me that Bill Clinton was an immoral guy and that we needed decency and morals and values in the White House. So surely to goodness, surely they won't go for this, but no, they just doubled down on it and called it locker room talk and found a way to excuse it all. And it just kept going. It just kept steamrolling. Every time he did anything, I remember thinking, when's it going to be enough? When will be the moment that they say enough's enough? And I realized that moment's never coming, because I realized that he empowered them to be their true self. And my buddy Wayne was talking about it, and he was like, years ago, I had more Republican friends. I had more people I disagreed with. He said, but over the years, they just seem to have drifted away, and I can't really have much to do with them anymore because, this is what we're up against. And it reminded me of this tune that I wrote that's going to be on Shots of Truth Volume 2, and it's going to close the whole album. This is a two-part album. Volume 1 came out earlier this year, and this is Volume 2. And so I figured this would be a good closing track for the entire thing, because what I'm going to do once I get this album made, I'm going to have both albums in a double disc set for those that still likes to buy CDs. I'm going to have those available for people. And, I want to close it out with this album because I feel like that this is one of those things that needs to be said. There's a whole lot of people in my lifetime that I've had to burn a bridge with and walk away from, because there's just not two sides to some arguments. When it comes to racism, when it comes to bigotry, I can't find the other side of that argument, and I'm not even going to entertain it. So this one will close out the double album. and that's called Burning Bridges. I'm good at burning bridges, I ain't looking back on the ones that try to knock me down and stop me in my tracks. You'll never hear me beg, you'll never hear me beg. I'm good at burning bridges, and I ain't looking back. Fool me once, you can't get fooled again. However the hell you say it, I won't let the bastards win. You say leave the door open, I may need it one day. I don't need to be reminded, son, I'll slam it in your face. I ain't mending fences, I sat on them too long, waiting on the world to change while they played the same old song. I'll die upon this hill, I'll gladly stand alone. I ain't mending fences, boys, I sat on them too long. I'm good at burning bridges, I'm never going back. It's true I may have stumbled, but now I'm back on track. I will let my light shine while they fade to black. I'm good at burning bridges, I'm never going back. All right. Well, thank y'all so much. And once again, I apologize that for whatever reason, my comments is just one big jumbled up mess, and I don't understand why. It's as though every comment from my view, from my point of view, it's like every comment is just jumbled together, and I'm not understanding why. Trying to figure out how to work this thing and work it out. But so far it's not worked itself out at all. So hopefully it does eventually, because I do like to be able to communicate with y'all and see what it is that you're saying. So hopefully that will iron itself out eventually. But thank you guys so much for being here with me here at the kitchen table on a Thursday. I figured we'd go ahead and do a Thursday show. I'm going to be back on the first Friday of November. I'll probably end up getting 2 shows in during November. But yeah, we'll keep on rolling with this, and hopefully that little bug, whatever the hell it is, will work itself out eventually, because I do want to be able to talk to you guys and see what it is you're saying. But on my end of things, it is just one big jumbled up mess. So I can see some of your faces, I can see some of the comments, but they're all just jumbled in together on my end. And if you're trying to tell me how to fix it, I'm not seeing that either. So all right. Well, you guys have fun in the comment section, and hopefully I'll start seeing it eventually. But kind of staying on that same theme of what I was just now talking about, and how that I don't see that there's 2 sides to the argument when it comes to racism. I don't see 2 sides to that argument, and I don't see 2 sides to the argument of homophobia and bigotry, and those kind of things are deal breakers for me. It's not something that I can just say, oh, okay, well, cool. If you believe that way, then I can still be your pal. I just it's not something that I can entertain. But one thing is, a lot of times I've had people accuse me of being in an echo chamber, and they'll say, well, you're staying in an echo chamber. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm not. I'm over here with reasonable people. And when I say that I'm, not going to have those two-sided arguments, that's basically, I'm talking to extreme people. We're not talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cowboys. Okay, we can debate that. I'm not talking about things like that. There's just a whole lot of things that, I don't feel is a two-sided argument. And so, I would much rather be around people who challenge me to think, and I would much rather be around people who have thoughts on things and ideas and new ideas, something that we've never thought of before. And as long as that's going on, then yeah, I'll stay over here in my echo chamber, because I don't want to be trapped in an echo chamber with people shouting hatred. So I kind of took that idea and wrote this tune called Echo Chamber, and it is available on Shots of Truth Volume 1. If there's no loath and no spreading lies, just rational thoughts and compromise. If there's no vile words of anger, I'll stay inside of my echo chamber. No misinformation, conspiracy theories, misguided fools playing judge and jury. If there's just peace and love in your neighbor, I'll stay inside of my echo chamber. Ain't shaking hands with a clenched fist, no need to unite. If you done picked your poison, done went and chose up your side. If you're just passing blame and pointing your finger, well, I'll stay inside my echo chamber. Clickbait headlines to distract, they comfort you with alternative facts. If you're just repeating your favorite anchor, step outside of your echo chamber. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here with me at the kitchen table on this Thursday evening. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. And hope everyone is doing well. Again, I apologize that my comment section tonight, for whatever reason, now it's officially gone. I'm not seeing anything. There was a big jumbled up mess there, and now I have nothing. So, well, now I've got the jumbled up mess back. So, I don't know how to work out this problem from my end while I'm going live. So I guess we'll just have to hope for the best, because like I said before, I really do enjoy conversing with you guys when we do these kind of things. And for whatever reason, on my end of things, I'm just seeing that. So I don't know why that's happening. So hopefully it'll work itself out. But yeah, I'm gonna play y'all a tune. I don't think I've played this one on one of the shows before. I wrote this song a long time ago. I wrote this tune right after January 6th happened, and that was one of those moments in time going back to this thought of, well, can't believe these people buy into this bullshit. It was one of those moments where I'm sitting there watching that, and I was like, well, there's definitely a song in this. And so I wrote this tune and put it up, but that's back before everything ended up going viral and we ended up sitting here doing what we're doing today. So I may have to bring this one back. But this one's called A Parrot Ain't a Patriot. And what I mean by that is just because you parrot whatever conspiracy theory you believe in, that doesn't make you patriotic at all. Marjorie is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, yet she finds a crowd just dumb enough to believe in that batshit conspiracy stuff. Marjorie is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Cute on this wacko can be, spreading bald-faced lies in the name of free speech. They walk on us all and cry, don't tread on me. You an honest wacko as wacko can be. They think that they're patriots upholding the law, painting their faces and tasing their balls, making a joke in the name of taking a stand. They cry oppression on their vacation day. They back the blue till they don't get their way. A parrot ain't a patriot, they all got blood on their hands. Alex is crazier than an old pet coon. He thinks sex is on Mars, we never landed the moon. Gave frogs, lizard people, and satanic typhoons. Alex is crazier than an old pet coon. Sarah is a nutty as Mama's fruitcake. She convinced the flock that the news was all fake. Donnie was a dipshit, but he followed her flame. Sarah was a nutty as Mama's fruitcake. Cling to your Bibles, stick to your guns, but you better wake up, boys, you're coming undone. They're playing you all for fools, don't you understand? No one is coming for your precious rights, but you can't embrace hatred and help spread the lies. A parrot ain't a patriot, y'all got blood on your hands. Yeah, a parrot ain't a patriot, they all got blood on their hands. Well, again, thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you for the tip. I've also got the virtual tip jar in the description of the video. Thank you guys. Those of you that have hit that, I want you to know that it's not at all a requirement, but I really appreciate it when you do. So thank you so much for that. And I can see those when those pop up. Thank you, Phil. I really appreciate that. And I think Jess was the one that sent the last one. So thank both of you for that. Thank the both of yous. But for whatever reason, I still cannot see my comment section, and it's driving me nuts. I just see Although, thank you, John. I really appreciate it. Again, I want you guys to know that you don't have to do that. That's not necessary, but I really appreciate it when you do. Thank you guys so much for helping me do what it is that I do. And hopefully this comment section thing will eventually work itself out and I can see what it is you're saying, because that's my favorite part is talking to y'all. And I wish I could screenshot this and show you guys what it is that I'm seeing. But anyway, eventually I hope it'll work itself out. But thank you guys so much for the tips. I really do appreciate all of you. And I appreciate you being here with me on this Thursday. I want to remind you, I am going to do another one the first Friday. I think it's November 3rd. It's the first Friday, so it's just a few weeks from now. Actually, it's 2 weeks. Well, no. Would that be 1 week from today? Hell, I can't see. Anyway, it's the first Friday. So yeah, that's next week. So yeah, we'll be back next week, next Friday, with one of these. And we'll have a lot of fun doing that. And we will see why I'm not seeing these comments. And I'll be dead honest with you. It's kind of like I'm almost afraid to touch some of these things because I don't want to lose you guys for good. But yeah, for whatever reason, thank you, Jeff. I can see those. Like I said, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's funny. I did see that. And I'm not sure how to refresh from my end. I see that, but I don't know how I would do that while I'm sitting here live. But, well, eventually this may all work itself out. Hope it does. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate all of you for being here. And I'm really looking forward to you guys hearing the episode that I did with Wayne Bledo. If you just rolled in, I was telling everybody about it a little bit ago. Wayne Bledo is a music journalist out of Knoxville, Tennessee. He wrote for the Knoxville News Sentinel, I want to say, for over 30 years. He was the entertainment writer. And just one of the best voices in the music scene and one of the biggest supporters of the regional artists in our part of the world. And Wayne wrote articles about me and my band before I even knew who he was. It's a funny story. Back years ago, I was in a band called the Hillbillies, and we played a whole lot of dive bars and a whole lot of backwoods kind of places. A lot of the places that needed chicken wire around the stage. Remember the Blues Brothers movie when they had the chicken wire? There was a couple of places. I never got to play behind chicken wire, but there was a couple of places where I definitely needed it. And we would go out there and play. And so I just started writing songs. Me and my buddy, we started writing tunes about what was going on in the bars we was playing at, and writing about the people that we were hanging around. And those things started catching on pretty good. And we're out there doing that, so we started recording our own songs. And I used to joke with people and say that it wasn't like that our music was released. Our music just sort of escaped. We would burn copies of it on our computers and just give them to people at shows and stuff like that. Back then, we didn't have like what they do now. A lot of times people have these CD release parties, and we didn't have those back then. It was just like, oh, by the way, guys, we got CDs. And a lot of the dive bars we was playing in, times were tight back then, and people would come in, they'd look at the CD and they'd say, how much you want for it? We'd say 10 or 15 bucks, however much was asking. And they'd be like, I don't know, and they'd walk away and leave it. And so finally I decided, I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to set these CDs on a table and put a tip jar beside that. And we'll be like, hey, just drop a tip of the tip jar and take a CD with you. So people started doing that. And we actually started selling more that way by just letting people donate what they wanted. And somehow a copy of that CD, somehow it made it into the hands of Wayne Bledo, the music journalist in Knoxville. And it was actually about maybe 2 years later before we even realized that he wrote it, because he had no way of contacting us. He didn't know who we were. He had no way of contacting us, and we didn't have no way of contacting him. We didn't even know about it. And so one day the bass player's sister just decided to Google the name of the Hillbillies to see if anybody anywhere had written anything about it. And lo and behold, we saw that article that Wayne had written and was like, holy crap, someone actually wrote an article about us. So there was one line in that article that really stayed stuck in my head. he said, this album is a little bit weak on the production side, but it's definitely an act that's worth polishing up. And I thought, well, shit, maybe it is. Maybe it's an act that we should polish up and take on to other towns and other places. And so we started doing that. And then when I made it down to Knoxville, I actually lived in Knoxville for a couple of years, but when I made it down there, I found him on Facebook, reached out and became friends. And he started having me on his radio show. Back then, he had one on WDVX called All Over the Road that came on at midnight on Saturdays. So you would go into this little studio and you would sit there and play songs for Wayne and carry on a conversation. And it was a really good time. And then he started doing the 6 o'clock swerve, which takes place now at Barley's in Knoxville. And that's every Thursday at 6 p.m. You can listen to it live now on WUTK. And so that's really cool. But I just thought it would be interesting, if we flipped the script. And thanks, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm able to see the tips come up, but for some reason I can't see the comments yet. But yeah, Wayne, I thought it would be interesting if me and Wayne flipped the script and I interviewed him, And so we go over to the Arbor Studio, which is owned by John Baker, who, like I said earlier, has produced all my albums, and we've written songs together, and he's played bass and guitar and every instrument you can name on all my albums. And so Wade was like, is it okay if I talk to John while we're doing this? And I was like, well, let's just set John and Mike up and the three of us will talk. And so we had a really good conversation, and I'm going to have that episode up and out to you on Monday. So be sure to listen to that. That'll drop on the 30th. I've just got to edit out a few spots where we had to take some bathroom breaks. But so I got to go back and edit the audio just a little bit. But it was a really good time. I'm going to go back and listen to it all the way through before I release it, because Wayne brings a fifth of rye, and by the time the interview was over, we had completely destroyed that fifth of rye between the three of us. And so it was a good time. I remember it being a good time, and it'll be fun to go back and listen to. So you guys be sure to keep your eye out for that. That'll drop on Monday. And the name of the podcast, for those of you that don't know, is called If These Hills Could Talk. And so the concept behind that was, there's a whole lot of people in our part of the world. I call them blue dots in a red state. And there's so many people out there that do agree with us and do think like we do. It's just that they don't have the microphone and they're not really talking. The other side is so loud with the microphone. They're so loud and have been for so many years. I just feel like that if more people in our part of the world would talk and speak up, that you would see a difference. It's funny. I'll be out at shows, and I've had people walk up to me and be like, "Hey, I love your politics." And like Jennifer earlier that scrolled by, walked up to me one time, her and Jeff, and was like, "Hey, we love your politics." And I kind of stood there like a deer in the headlights for a minute. I was like, "Really? In Southeast Kentucky?" I'm like, "Okay, thanks." So, but yeah, I think there's a whole lot more people out there that do agree with us and do see it the way we do. And so we're just trying to find a way to get those voices out there. We'll get back to playing some tunes for you here. A lot of you may be asking the question, like, why is this little Buddha sitting here on the table? And I'll just go ahead and tell you. And I'm still trying to get these things to work. But anyway, back in 2017, now let me go back a little bit further than that. Back in high school, I got on this kick of just reading all sorts of books. I got into I was always a reader my entire life. Back in the day, back in the 80s, they used to have, I don't know if y'all did this, I don't know where a lot of you are from, but here in Southeast Kentucky, we had this thing called Book It. And it was like, if you read so many books a week, you could take it and cash it in at a Pizza Hut, and you could get like a like a little personal pan pizza, which I think about that from time to time. And we thought we was royalty when we went in there and got one of those things. And so I've always read, but when I got into high school, I got to reading a lot of stuff that wasn't in the history books. I had a history teacher named James Baker, and I never will forget how that he's who kind of told me, like, hey, there's a book about this subject. We're talking about it, but there's a lot of stuff the history book doesn't tell you. So be sure to go check out this book and see what you think of it. And so I was the kid that would go in the library, and read, because that was just my thing. And got into reading a whole lot of books and stuff. And I remember back then studying Buddhism in high school, reading books about Buddhism. I read the Quran. I read all kinds of things. And what was so funny, I remember I actually got called into the counselor's office because of the books I had in my locker. They questioned me because of the books. And it's funny because nowadays we're having these banned books discussion. Well, back then they was like, "Why are you reading this stuff?" And I was like, "Well, it's in the library. It's available. I'm sitting here reading about these things, but I mean, they're available to everybody here. So why can't I read them?" And there was actually back then there were some of the books that I had in my locker that they ended up taking off the library shelf once they realized that people actually were checking them out. And so I remember that. But I remember reading about Buddhism back then, and I remember liking a lot about what I read. But I really didn't get back into it until around 2017 when I was over at a friend of mine's, and we were partaking in some really good herb. And so sitting around a campfire just having a good night. It's a really nice night out. We're just sitting there, and I got to feeling really, really good. I was feeling great. And so I walked into the house, and when I did, I sat down on the side of her bed, and there was this very little wooden Buddha statue sitting there. And I picked it up and looked at it, and look at that big smile he's got on his face. It's a hell of a smile. And so I was like, I was like, this guy looks happy. And I got to looking at him, and the more I looked at him, it just got funny to me. I began laughing about it. And my friend was like, "What's funny? Why are you laughing at my Buddha?" And I was like, "I've never seen someone look that happy. He looks really happy to be here." I said, I got a picture of Jesus on the wall. I said, back when I was growing up, I said, my grandmother had a picture of Jesus on the wall. I said, he looked miserable. I said, any picture I've ever seen of Jesus, he always kind of looks real stoic and real, heartbroken at times. And I was like, Buddha just looks like he's happy. And she said, that's because he is happy. And we kept sitting there talking about it. And I don't know, the longer I looked at that Buddha, the funnier it got. And pretty soon I'm dying laughing at it. And the next morning when I got up and got ready to leave, she handed this to me, and she's like, "Hey," she's like, "I want you to take this Buddha with you." And I was like, "Well, I don't want to take your Buddha. You've had it for a long time." She said, "Yeah, I know." She said, "But that's the most I've ever seen you smile and the hardest I've ever seen you laugh. And so I think you need Buddha more than me." And I ended up taking him home with me, and he's been here ever since. And after that, I got into reading Buddhism and studying it really hard. And there's a really good podcast that I listen to with a guy named Noah Rasheta called Secular Buddhism. And I listened to that thing. Well, I shouldn't say the word religiously because Buddhism isn't a religion, not the kind I read. But anyway, I listen to it on a regular basis because it's very helpful. And so I think it was meant for me to discover this. And thanks to Amanda for helping me to discover it, because it's helped me get through a lot of times. But what's funny, back during the pandemic, I decided to set this Buddha on the table. Actually, he was sitting here, and he was in the camera shot, and I started to move him out of the way, and then I thought, no, hell, I'm just going to leave him there and just let him hang out at the table. So he's been hanging out with me anytime I do a live stream. Buddha's been hanging out at the table. So we'll rub his belly, like she said, and we'll play this tune I wrote called "The Laughing Buddha." Oh, and by the way, this album came out this song came out on my album Poa Pratensis. Some of you may be saying, what the hell is Poa Pratensis? Well, Poa Pratensis is the scientific name for the phrase Kentucky bluegrass. The grass that grows in Kentucky that's blue is actually called Poa Pratensis. So I named that album that as a joke because I wanted to be a smart ass and make people Google Poa Pratensis. So there's a bluegrass version out there under Brandon Fulson. That's Brandon, Fulson. You can find that one out there, and you can find the bluegrass version of this tune. But when me and the band was doing Shots of Truth Volume 2, I decided that we were going to do a full band version of it. So we kind of give it more of a Waylon Jennings honky-tonk kind of vibe, and it came out really cool. So anyway, we'll do this one for the Buddha. Buddha sat on her dresser with a Jimmy Carter smile. She said to rub his belly for good luck. You're gonna need it for a while. Come to think, when I've seen Buddha, he's got a glassy-eyed grin. Unlike the guy from my raising, he was always dying for sin. Jesus sat on the mantle. He had such a stoic face. He looked miserable above the altar and strung out at Grandma's place. And even knocking on my door, he had a sad look in his eye. Kinda got me thinking maybe I've been talking to the wrong guy. Well, I've done unto others, they nearly done me in. I turned the other cheek and they tried to cave it in. And I laid down my life for people who would not go a mile for me. So Jesus, if you're listening, I hope somehow you see. I can't carry the cross no longer. I can't live with nail-scarred hands. And I can't die for people who won't try to understand. And it is not my place to carry guilt and shame. I gotta be the laughing Buddha before I go insane. I'm no preacher, I'm no teacher. I don't have the answers yet. I'm not a savior, I'm no healer. I'm just a poet with a pen. And I ain't gonna let them string me up just to serve as their own fate. So when they ask you how they lost control, tell them I'm awake. And I've done unto others, they nearly done me in. I turned the other cheek, and they tried to cave it in. And I laid down my life for people who would not go a mile for me. So Jesus, if you're listening, I hope somehow you see. I can't carry the cross no longer. I can't live with nail-scarred hands. And I can't die for people who don't care to understand. And it is not my place to bear the sword in vain. I gotta be the laughing Buddha before I go insane. I better be the laughing Buddha or I just might go insane. All right. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you being here with me, and thank you guys so much for the tips. Really appreciate it. Also, for those of you that don't know how to do that on the YouTube app, I do have the virtual tip jar in the description, and thank you guys for hitting that. It's got my PayPal, my Venmo, and CashApp, and all that's there. So, again, you don't have to do that. You can just sit back and enjoy the show. But I really appreciate when you do. So thank you guys so much for that. I really appreciate all of your support and help in doing what it is that we do. So we'll keep on rolling with it. Play this tune here. This is another song that I wrote years ago. It's on the album Forgotten Appalachia. But back when I was growing up, I had a uncle by marriage. He was my great uncle. His name was Dale. And Dale was one of my favorite people on earth. I miss him so much because he was one of the funniest people I ever met and just kept me and the family dying laughing every time he came around. I've always said that whenever he came to the family reunion or came to the cookout, it'd be like if George Carlin or Richard Pryor showed up. I mean, he just he missed his calling in life. He really should have been out there doing stand-up because he was so great. But Uncle Dale was a pretty hardcore atheist, and he did not care at all to voice it and admit it. And my family, being super religious, would always try to find a way to sell religion to Uncle Dale. And Uncle Dale had a hard life and lived through a whole lot of things. He was accident prone, had a whole lot of things happen to him. So anytime something happened to him, my family would always kind of use that as an excuse to try to say, Dale, that's God trying to get your attention. And ended up... he got diagnosed with cancer back like the early 90s. I think he had it for like 15 years and battled it. They would send him into hospice, and then he would rally and come back, and hospice would go away. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen as far as somebody just hanging in there and hanging on as long as he did. So I really thought that he was like Keith Richards or Elvis. You know, I thought he was just like somebody that was immortal. But when it came time that he finally passed away, my grandmother gave me the news that he had passed, and she told me what her sister, my aunt, said happened at his bedside when he was passing away. Some of the conversations that got had there, and I thought, yeah, that's Uncle Dale, and that's definitely the song. You know, I always wanted to write a song about him, and when I heard what he had to say as he was exiting this world, I thought, yeah, that's how we'll sum up Uncle Dale. So I call this one Ode to Uncle Dale, and I didn't actually get to go to his funeral. He was buried up in Michigan, and I didn't get to make it to the funeral. I was working at the time and wasn't able to make it up there. So I still want to, if I'm going to buy into any conspiracy theory at all in this world, it'll be that Uncle Dale is alive somewhere and he's hanging out down at the diner flirting with the waitresses. I hope so anyway. But anyway, here's to him. He took that curve too fast down at the junction. Cut that telephone pole clean in two. Doc said he'd be lucky to ever function, but he was right back at the Elks Lodge 1st of June. He ate a hollow point slug once in a card game. Lucky for him, it hit his partial plate. Doc said half an inch in any wrong way, he'd have been meeting old St. Peter at the pearly gates. Well, Uncle Dale, you got 9 lives, but you're running out of time. Don't you think you and Jesus might ought to make things right? He said, I prayed once to Ben Matlock, and the results came out the same. And if the devil created rock and roll, well, I'll be dancing in the flames. Got in a brawl with a St. Bernard in Detroit. Old Cujo went straight for the throat. The family sure had one hell of a story when he sent that mutt packing on down the road. Stabbed in the gut, sitting in his recliner. Poor Aunt Betty took all that she could take. But 2 weeks later, he was back down at the diner, showing a scar to the waitress on her brakes. Doc said, sir, you better get your things in order. Write your will, you're running out of time. He said if they couldn't shut me up at the Korean border, well, I'd love to see this cancer give it a try. 15 years later, at his bedside, the family begged him, please, Dale, let us pray. With a defiant grin and a twinkle in his weak eyes, these were the last words that he had to say. Your Uncle Dale has lived 9 lives, and now I'm running out of time. But how do you know being Jesus ain't already made things right? But if he and I have spoke about where I'm bound to go, well, you hypocrites here by my bed be the last damn ones to know. All right, thank y'all so much. Maybe this thing will eventually work itself out, because I will tell you this much: they're starting to clear up just a little bit. I'm starting to see one here and there. So maybe in time, the comment section will work itself out. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, if you just tuned in, for whatever reason on my end of things, the comment section is just all jumbled together. It's as though everyone's comment is just laying on top of each other from my point of view, and I can't make it out. Now, when someone has hit the virtual tip jar, I've saw those come through, and I've been trying to give shout outs to those who have been hitting that. But for whatever reason, my comment section is just one big jumbled up mess. And it wasn't that way the last time at all. The last time I was able to sit here and talk to you guys and read the comments and go back and forth. And I'll tell you what I will do the next time that that I get here. I will actually, I'll have my laptop here and we'll try to log in that way. Actually, if you guys didn't mind bearing with me for just a second, I could do that because I really want to see what it is you guys are saying. That's part of the whole, that's part of the fun of it. So 1 second, guys, I'm going to get this laptop and see if I can't, get us in business here. Because I definitely want to be able to see what it is that you guys are saying, and for whatever reason, YouTube is not cooperating with me. So we'll get this rolling, and I'll be sitting here shooting the breeze with you while I do. So again, thank you guys for being patient, and thank you guys for understanding. I'm still learning the ropes, to be honest with you, on all these things. I used to do most of my Facebook lives from Facebook, and I'm new at it here on YouTube. This is only the second time we've done one recently. And so, might take it a minute for this thing to kick on, but I will pull it up and hopefully I'll be able to see the comment section that way. Because, yeah, for whatever reason, it's still showing up just one big jumbled mess in front of me, and that's starting to get under my skin. I was sitting here, usually stuff like this kind of works themselves out as you go along, and for whatever reason, it's not wanting to. And so hopefully it will, and hopefully once my laptop gets up and running here, I'll just go to my YouTube channel and I'll be able to see the comments that way. So that way, because I want to be able to talk to you guys and carry on the conversation. I'm going to go for a little while longer. I don't have to be up early in the morning, so I understand it's a Thursday night, and I understand a lot of people have schedules and things you got to do. So you can always go back and watch this later. If at any point you need to tap out, I completely understand. So we can do that. We'll just it will be available. These live streams are available to watch later, and so again, thank you guys so much for being here with me, and I'm looking forward to get some new music out to you. Like I said, I released Hillbilly Angel. That one came out on the 20th. And so it's out there on all the streaming platforms under Tennessee Brando. Just be sure to look for it wherever it is that you find your music. And let me know what you think about it. I opened up the show with it. I played it on as the opening song. And so, like I said, you guys can go back and watch the replay. But I want to thank everyone who's been hitting the tip jar. It's greatly appreciated. I want you to know that you don't have to. But I really appreciate when you do. It's very helpful. And I want to thank all my members. A shout out to them. I want to give a special shout out to all my YouTube members on here. And I do have memberships. YouTube basically has like its own built-in Patreon. And so you can actually join the YouTube channel. There's different tiers that you can join. And what's really cool is, you're going to see the videos before I release them to the public. A lot of times, the pattern I've been going for here lately is I have been releasing the video first to the YouTube members. They see it first. I leave them up for a couple hours, give everybody a chance to see them. And once that happens, then I go ahead and make the videos public. And so, yeah, I want to thank you guys so much, man. I really appreciate all of you that have hit the tip jar. While my laptop's getting fired up here, hopefully once I get in there, I'll be able to see these comments. And I apologize that I've not been able to be reading them, but I will be hanging around for a while longer, and we will work it out. In the meantime, while we're waiting on all these kinks to get worked out, I'll play some more music and remind you that Shots of Truth Volume 2 will be coming out on Black Friday. All we got to do is mix it. Now, see, I can see that. Thank you. Thank you for that $5. I really appreciate all of you. I can see those when they pop up. The comments are running together on me for some reason. But yeah, we've got new music coming out on Black Friday, and I'll probably I may go ahead and do another live stream on that day just to celebrate the album coming out, and we'll sit and play the songs from it. I'm going to be back doing this again next Friday, which is the 3rd of November. I'll be back with another one, so you guys be sure to tune in for that. And we'll play this tune here. I'll tell you what, it has been the year of the culture wars. And every time you turn around, there's a new one popped up. Somebody's mad at something else. It's so ridiculous. But and really, if you want me to just be dead honest with you guys, like, I've been a musician for 25 years, and thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I've been a musician for over 25 years, and I spent most of my life playing, rowdy backwoods dive bars in East Tennessee and Southeast Kentucky. And I managed to get a lot of the original music that I wrote. I managed to get it over in places like that. But we were also sort of expected to be a live jukebox and play a lot of cover music too. And I did that for so long. And when I started doing the political commentary, when I started doing those things, there for a while, it was kind of hard to bring the music and that together. It was like people knew me for talking the politics and doing the commentary. And so if I just played them a song, they didn't really know what to think about it. And so I remember saying to myself, I was like, okay, I'm just going to start writing about the current events, what's happening in this world. And as I did that, if I'm just being dead honest, I just find it hilarious to poke fun at these ridiculous culture wars. Satire is when you use irony and humor and exaggeration to expose the stupidity of people's beliefs. That's the meaning of the word satire. And I just think that when people gets mad at Target because they put out some LGBTQ friendly merchandise, and somebody can't walk through a Target and just look the other way if they find offense at it, I just find that to be ridiculous, and I feel like it deserves to be ridiculed. I feel like it deserves to be poked fun at. And so I wrote this tune back when everybody got so mad at Target. And I remember thinking to myself, most of the people I know around here don't even shop at Target. But they had to find some reason to get mad at. So I wrote this tune called Bubba's Mad at Target. Bubba's mad at Target, says they went woke, screaming at his phone, crying how they're going broke. He got all butthurt over pride and rainbows. Bubba's mad at Target, says they went woke. For Bubba and his buddies, it's been some rough years. They gave up football, shot up all their beer. They burned all their Carhartts, refused to shop at Dick's. I lost count of their outrage, I can't even with these pricks. And even Walt Disney got them all bent out of shape. I never knew rednecks loved the Little Mermaid. They hated bro country, said it was for the birds, but cranked up Morgan Wallen when he shouted the N-word. Now Bubba's mad at Target since they went woke. Says he just can't handle having shit shoved down his throat. And why do they always have to cram it in his face? Bubba's mad at Target, never shop there anyway. Why's Bubba mad at Target, never shop there anyway? All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And of course, my computer would be updating at the moment. So eventually I will be able to get this thing to work, and I'll be able to see what comments you guys are saying. I have literally tried everything I know on my end to get this comment section to clear up. But from my end of things, all I'm seeing is just one big jumbled up mess. And can't figure it out. I just realized that I can put a user in timeout though. When I clicked on that, it was like, you can put this user in timeout. I'm like, well, okay. Didn't know that was an option. But, if some of the trolls show up, I guess we'll have to figure out a way to do that. But, yeah, hopefully I'm getting my laptop warmed up here, and hopefully it'll come together pretty quick here, and I can get on there and start seeing the comments you guys are leaving me, because it's driving me nuts not being able to see it. But while we're waiting on all that to happen, and it's moving faster now, This shirt I got on, I had to show it to you guys. The Bill Lee is a Drag show. And Bill Lee is a Drag is actually the first song that I wrote that really got the political satire moving forward. Um, it was one of those moments where um, when I wrote it and it blew up and went viral, then it like just inspired me to start writing the rest of them. And I started writing them all pretty quick after that. And so this one here is kind of the one that paved the way for all of this. It was back when we was having all the arguments about the drag queens, and Bill Lee was trying to pass all this legislation to ban drag shows. And I mean, that's the number one threat in these people's world. I mean, it's not children, you know, losing their life at school. No, it's not that. No, it's the potential they might see a drag queen. Oh my God, I don't know. It reminds me. I know I'm not a religious person, but I definitely grew up on the Bible, and I've read it and studied it my whole life. And there's this one line in there that says there will be a generation that will strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. And I always took that to mean that they would like frown upon small things and embrace things that was much worse. Is how I took that. And so, you know, I just find the whole argument against the drag queens to be one of the most ridiculous arguments. Here's the kicker. Nobody on the right side of the aisle ever gave a shit about a drag queen until a Republican told them that's what they should fear next. Nobody gave a shit about that. Nobody was caring. No one was talking about it. And if you go back and look at I've got so many friends who are fans of wrestling. Look how many people back in the day, going back from like Gorgeous George to Adrian Adonis to all these different wrestlers that did it. And do we have to mention 80s rock? I mean, most of the 80s rock music that these people still crank up today was made by men in drag at the end of the day. And so it's just amazing to me how all of a sudden they picked that out of everything they could get mad about. Suddenly that's what they picked, and they had a bone to pick with it. And it's one of those things where tomorrow, if, you know, a MAGA Republican came out and told them to be offended by Charlie Brown's Great Pumpkin, they would be mad at Charlie Brown's Great Pumpkin. And it's just, you know, it's like, okay. Meanwhile, as their rights are being stripped away and as everything's circling and draining going down the toilet, I mean, they're over here whining about a drag queen. So anyway, I wrote this tune called Bill Lee is a Drag, because turns out like this shirt, whoever made this shirt was a genius. They found the picture of the time Bill Lee went out and drag himself. Of course, it was funny when he did it, but now that he could turn it into a political issue, well, he had to be a jerk. So we'll play this one while my computer is getting warmed up, and hopefully I'll be able to get on here and see the comments that you guys are leaving. The governor says I should be afraid of the latest boogeymen. They're all wearing dresses and reading books to the kids. But he's okay with my children having active shooter drills. And he's never said a word about what the priests have done for real. Yeah, Tennessee is home to me, but I do have to admit it's getting a whole lot harder to say y'all come again. 'Cause everywhere I turn, a redneck waves some hateful rag. And it's the blind leading the blind, 'cause old Bill Lee, he's a drag. The good old boys dug hair bands back when glam rock ruled the day. Wore spandex and their high heels, and now they're all afraid. And I hear tell the governor used to dress in women's clothes. Go ask him about it and just watch his head explode. Yeah, Tennessee is home to me, but these sure are strange times. I never thought I'd see the day when being homeless was a crime. And now everywhere I turn, a redneck raves some hateful rag. And it's the blind leading the blind, 'cause old Bill Lee, he's a drag. Yeah, it's the blind leading the blind, 'cause old Bill Lee, he's a drag. right. Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm still trying to get the comment section all worked out here. If you just tuned in, I was telling everybody that for whatever reason, my comment section is all just one big jumbled up mess at the moment. I can't read the comments. So I've got my laptop updating here, and it's about ready to get started, and hopefully I'll be able to go in here and see what it is you guys have been saying to me. I can see it whenever you leave the tips, and I appreciate everyone who's been doing that. I can see your name pop up, and I can see that happen, and I've been trying to give everyone a shout out. If I missed you, I apologize. I truly do appreciate you guys helping me do what it is that I do. So thank y'all so much for being here. And speaking of culture wars and all the bullshit that we've had to go through this year, one of the most ridiculous ones too was back when Kid Rock went on a rampage and shot up a bunch of Bud Light cans. It was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen, which it's not like I didn't expect it from someone like that. But anyway, when he went out and did that, I wrote this tune called Kid Rock Won't Drink Bud Light Anymore. And it's available on Shots of Truth Volume 1. And then as I'm making Volume 2, I see a picture surfaces of him out somewhere, and he's just drinking a Bud Light. So I realized, if you ever go, and I mean, I wouldn't recommend nobody do this. I'm not going to tell you to, okay? Because I want us to remain friends here, okay? I want us to continue to get along. So I don't want to tell you to go do something and then you hate me for the rest of your life. But Kid Rock had a song called We the People. And it is one of the absolute most god-awful songs I've ever heard in my life. And so sorry about that. So anyway, if he can write those kind of songs and just make a complete ass out of himself, then I can write these to talk about what an asshole he is. So I had to write Kid Rock Won't Drink Bud Light Anymore, and then I had to do an update and write one called Kid Rock's Drinking Bud Light Again. And I'm sure that before this is over, he'll probably take a different stance, and I'll just keep on pointing it out in songs. Because again, satire is the use of humor, irony, and exaggeration to expose the stupidity of people's beliefs. And so that's what we're doing here tonight on the show, and thank you guys for being here with me. Kid Rock won't drink Bud Light anymore. He's shooting his rifle, he's ready for war. To the trans community, they've opened their doors. Kid Rock won't drink Bud Light anymore. He took all his Carhartts and he threw them away. All he eats the Lord's chicken down at Chick-fil-A. Old Trump got arrested, he's pissed and he's sore. Kid Rock won't drink Bud Light anymore. Oh, Kid Rock won't drink Bud Light anymore. But if you go down to Nashville and walk through his door, it's still on the menu, it just proves he's a whore who will tell you not to drink Bud Light anymore. Yeah, Kid Rock won't drink Bud Light anymore. Actually, he will. Kid Rock's drinking Bud Light again. I guess his little temper tantrum, it was all pretend. Just making headlines, just cashing in. Kid Rock's drinking Bud Light again. A coattail rider from first day one had some fools thinking he was Hank's rebel son. Feeding stereotypes, rapping old cliches, waving a flag we had done thrown away. Then he grabbed his rifle and he threw a little fit, like any of us ever really gave a flying shit. Was feeling kind of frisky, acting pretty pissed. Sure ain't country, cause he still fucking missed. And now Kid Rock's drinking Bud Light again. At this point he's just phoning it in, just a full-blown manga hypocrite. Yeah, Kid Rock's drinking Bud Light again. Old Kid Rock's drinking Bud Light again. I'll tell you what, me and the band had a really fun time recording that tune because my good buddy Greg Horn kind of came up with, he was playing guitar on it, and he kind of took control and took direction and got us a really cool jam going out of that one. So it ended up being really good, and I was really happy with how that one turned out. But I ain't gonna lie to you, I do have the words in front of me on a lot of these, and I'll tell you why. Truthfully, I write these tunes and I throw them up online, you know, and then I hardly ever play them because it's not like I'm not playing these out at Bob's Country Bunker anymore. So the only time I play them is when I'm sitting here in front of you guys, or if someone actually invites me out to a show and I get to play. And so I'm going to do a better job of getting these in my head, because now I realize that there's an audience that wants to hear it, and I appreciate you guys for being that audience and being here with me. So, you know, one of the funny stories that happened this year was when they had the whole Alabama boat brawl. That was one of the funniest things I ever seen, and it's so amazing to me how that some people can. You know, two people can see the same exact thing and draw two different conclusions. But the conclusion that I came away with was, you know, these were people who were just sick and tired of the same old bullshit. They looked over and they saw a bunch of white dudes beating up a black dude, and they said, "Not today." And that was right around the time that Jason Aldean had put out the song, you know, "Try That in a Small Town," or whatever the hell it was called. And it was just like, okay, they tried that and got their asses whipped. And it just, I thought, man, a buddy of mine reached out to me and he said, dude, because I hadn't wrote a song about it yet. And he said, dude, if you don't write a song about this Alabama boat brawl, then you should lose your songwriting license. I was like, yeah, you're right. So I wrote this one. I call it Float Around and Find Out. They went down to Montgomery, tried to park the boat. Got told they had to move, and it fragiled their ego. They were itching for the chance to live out Aldean's battle cry, when they floated around and found out when they jumped on the wrong guy. A whole lot of good people were just fed up with the hate. That shit may have flew way back in '68. So if you're feeling froggy and decide to run that mount, remember when you do, you'll float around and find out. The little alphas watched in horror all around the internet, cringing at the chair shot up beside that bitch's head. Their small town wet dream had died there on the dock, when one old boy got hit so hard he fell plumb out of his crock. A whole lot of good people were just fed up with the hate. That shit may have flew way back in '68. So if you're feeling froggy and decide to run that mouth, remember when you do, you'll float around and find out. Remember when you do, you'll float around and find out. Thank y'all so much. And yeah, my computer is about to be updated, and so I'm going to be able to log on here and maybe can read some of the comments from there. Because if you just tuned in, I was telling everybody that all night long, for whatever reason, my comment section is just one big jumbled up mess, and so I can't read what's being said. I do see it when you guys leave the tips. I can catch that, but the comments are all running together on me, and nothing I've done on my end has been able to change that. So hopefully when I get my computer updated here and log in, I'll be able to see what it is you guys are saying. But I'm going to do this tune here. I ended up having a really good time doing this song on the album because, and this one was recorded 100% live. The only thing I did was added some backup harmony. The vocal take you will hear when Shots of Truth comes out on this particular tune which is called Arrested Again. That was me live with the band. There was no overdub there. I just overdubbed some harmonies. But I actually called this song Indicted Again when I first wrote it. And then he got arrested. And then I realized, shit, I can pretty much write these songs all the time because he's just going to keep giving me material. So I don't know, there's just something comical about this song to me because here we are playing this really slow, heartfelt country song and we're making fun of Donald Trump like he should be made fun of. So I call this one Arrested Again. Arrested again. And now the cult's crying MAGA tears. They got all but hurt over beer. And now all of this. He told them the game was rigged, but he didn't have no evidence. And now Jack Smith made him his bitch. Arrested again. He told you if things were bad, he'd call it fake news. He said cheating Uncle Sam was a smart thing to do. So why do you act surprised when we point out all the lies while he and my pillow guy gripped your very last dime? Arrested again. I hate to be the one to say y'all really got played by a grifting con man, and yet you remain convinced the real Judas was Mike Pence. Why don't you get some fucking sense? He's arrested again. So yeah, it probably won't be the last time. I really think, honestly, folks, if you want my opinion on this one, and I did make a video, I think I put this one on TikTok talking about it, but I really think Trump wants to be arrested. I think he really does want to go to jail because he just keeps violating his gag orders. And I think he's doing it on purpose because I think he wants to be a martyr to his people. I think he feels like that, if they jail him, then he can say, hey, look, they put their political opponents in jail, And I really think that he wants to because nobody out there in their right mind in his scenario would be talking and running their mouth as much as he is. And I think that he's doing so because at the end of the day, he wants to be arrested. Thank you, Lynn, so much for that. I really appreciate it. I think he wants to be arrested. I think he wants to go to jail so he can then be the martyr. And, there's a whole lot of people talking about a lot of different scenarios. And there's people saying, well, what if they was to offer him a plea deal where, if you don't run for president, if you will agree to never hold a political office again, then you won't have to go to jail. And I actually disagree with that. I don't think they should give him that option because if they gave him that option, it would fit his narrative of, look, the only reason they came after me is because I was running for president. That's the narrative he's been out there painting all this time is that, hey, they're indicting me in the middle of my presidential campaign. Anyone with an ounce of common sense can look at the situation and say, no, that's not what's happening at all. You're campaigning during the middle of your indictments. You're campaigning and running for president to try to take the attention off the fact that you've got 91 charges and 4 indictments and all these things. And so I think if they was to give him, if they were to give him that it would just feed into the narrative that he's been trying to paint this entire time. And he could say, see, I told you they were just out to get me out of the race. I mean, which I would love to see him out of the race, don't get me wrong. And thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm For those of you that just tuned in, if you have just tuned in, I'm getting my laptop up and running right now. It's having to update for a minute, but I've been trying to get that updated so I can go in here and see the comments and see what it is you guys are saying. Because for whatever reason, my comment section is just one big jumbled up mess on my end. All the comments is as though they're all laying on top of one another. I can barely see. Now, when someone hits the virtual tip jar, I've been able to see those. And I want to thank you guys so much for that. I really appreciate it. I want you to know that you don't have to. You can just sit back and enjoy the music and have a good time. But I really do appreciate it. Every donation is greatly appreciated, and I thank you guys for being here with me. I'm going to go a little while longer here at the table. I hope that's okay with you guys. I hope you're ready to go a little while longer, and hopefully I'll get this laptop updated over here, and I'll be able to log in and see from my computer some of the comments, because for whatever reason, and I've tried everything on my end here that I know to do, and for whatever reason, my comments are just all on top of each other, so it's very hard to decipher it. But I'll go ahead and play you this tune while we wait. If I can get it back in my head. But anyway, another one of the ridiculous culture wars that we saw this year was when right wingers just went completely off the rails over the Barbie movie, which I found to be hilarious, that grown men were actually that upset and concerned over a Barbie movie. And Ben Shapiro just took the whole cake on that one, because not only did he get all bent out of shape and butthurt over that movie, he actually went out and took him a notepad and went to the show and sat there taking notes in the middle of a Barbie movie. And he was talking about how he looked around at all these women, all these middle-aged moms, and they're watching this with their daughter. And I just picture him sitting there getting bent out of shape and upset over a Barbie movie. It's just one of the most ridiculous things that I've seen in a long time. And so then he goes out, and I don't know if I don't know. Well, somebody will have to ask him for me. I don't know if Ben Shapiro owned a bunch of Barbies and had a Barbie Jeep and all this stuff before this happened. If not, he went out and paid money for it so he could light them on fire to protest this movie. And I said to myself, anybody that would take time out of their day to take a notepad and go to a Barbie movie, yeah, they deserve to have the use of irony, humor, and exaggeration to expose the stupidity of their beliefs. That's going to be the theme of tonight's show, for sure. But this one's going to be the opening track on Shots of Truth, Volume 2. And if you're a member, I want to say this, if you got, for those of you that have memberships, or those of you who haven't had one yet, I'll let you in on this little secret. I have been releasing the rough takes, the rough mixes of these songs as we get them done. So YouTube members are here, and people on my Patreon both are hearing these songs with the band playing them first. So if you guys want to do that, join up with the memberships. You'll be able to hear these. This one's actually out there now, floating around in the membership world. So here's the legend of Barbie and Ben. Little Ben grabbed a pen and notepad, headed down to the picture show. Sat there red-faced and white-knuckled, his little head about to explode. Surrounded by those middle-aged mamas, shaking like a leaf and scared to death. What's he to do with all the madness, when Lord knows he can't get them wet? The radical woke mom, they done crossed the line. Trans Barbie, she drove him out of his mind. He sat there fuming while beating off Ken, and so goes the legend of Barbie and Ben. He's screaming boycott, he's got to get a handle on all of this far-left Chinese propaganda. He burned all the Barbies throughout the Jeep with Ken, and so goes the legend of Barbie and Ben. And so goes the legend of Barbie and Ben. ride. And that's, to be that honest with you, that's one of my favorite ones to play. And me and the band had a really good time putting that one together. We really did. We had a blast doing that one. So much fun. Because it's really cool when we get in the studio and we start working these songs out. I've got a really good team of guys around me. I really do. And I'm very lucky to have them. John Baker, who owns the Arbor Studio, he's been with me from the start. Once I started recording music at his studio, I've been recording there since 2015 and made a whole lot of albums with John. Let's see, we made Dark Side of the Mountain together, Forgotten Appalachia. We made Poet Pretensus, Live at the Butcher's Pub, Roaring 20. Then we made Brando's Hillbilly Review. We made an album called The Bitter Resistors, which was a lot of protest music, more of like a punk rock style. And then we've done Shots of Truth Volume 1 and 2. So that's 8 albums in about 8 years. We've cranked out about an album a year. And so that's been a lot of fun doing that. And I've just got a really good team around me. When we take the songs into the studio and start playing them, it's so cool because I've got this good group of guys who comes up with new ideas. So when I take these songs into the studio, what you got to understand is that they're what you've heard in the videos where I play these songs for you. I throw my pick at the screen. You guys hear them first, and it's just me with an acoustic guitar. So then when I walk into the practice space with the band and I say, "Hey guys, check out this tune," then Brian, the drummer, may say, "Well, hey, let's kick this off with a little bit of a wailing beat at the beginning, and then let's go into a Johnny Cash beat later." And it's just a whole lot of fun doing those songs like that together. And then having Greg Horn there, who's a great guitar player and a steel guitar player, and he is so good at doing things and coming up with ideas. And so on a song like Barbie and Ben, that was one of those songs where when the band started playing it, it just really started coming to life. But right now, guys, if you're wondering what it is I'm doing, I am getting here on, I've got my laptop logged in, and now I should be able to at least read some of the comments that's been coming by, because like I've said, if you've just tuned in, I really apologize for this tonight, but for whatever reason, my comment section is just one big jumbled up mess. I can't read them. I can't decipher what it is you guys are saying. Whenever someone hits the virtual tip jar, I see that, and I really appreciate that. I can see those pop up just for a second and they go away. So hopefully if I can get my laptop to cooperate with me, and it's not being very cooperative tonight, but hopefully if I can get it to cooperate with me here, then I'll be able to at least read some of the comments and converse back and forth, because I know that's something we really enjoy when we're sitting here at the table doing what we're doing. But of course, this thing's going to want to run really slow. I want to thank everybody for being with me on this Thursday, and I want to remind you that we will be back next Friday. That is November the 3rd. I'll be back for another one, and then I'm going to try to do one also on Black Friday, which is the day that the album is coming out. So we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to getting it out there to you. And I hope you guys have had fun here at the table. I apologize that I've not been able to read the comments, but I'm trying my damnedest to get this laptop to agree with me so that I can start reading the comments and seeing what it is you guys are saying. In the meantime, while I wait on this thing, we will play another tune. I really didn't. This was one of those songs that I absolutely wrote as a joke. I never really realized how that it was going to catch on. When I went out to play Wayne Bledo 6 O'Clock Swerve, this song got a request. I was like, whoa, I wasn't really expecting that. And Tony Michaels was kind enough to play it several times on his podcast. And so, yeah, one of the things that the Republican Party loves to bitch about and they love to use as their scapegoat It's Hunter Biden, buddy. If they can find a way to blame it on Hunter, they will. And when Marjorie Taylor Greene goes out there in front of everybody and started showing the pornographic images that was in his phone, when she started showing those on national television, I was like, I realize they don't have a bottom. I mean, there's no low that these people won't go to. But I was like, oh man, this is definitely a song for sure. And I just kind of said out loud, I said, why does she have such a hard on for Hunter? And then it was like, boom, that's a song title. And that's a lot of times when people ask me, I have people ask me all the time, they'll say, how do you write these songs so fast? Well, number one, you got to be fast about it because the news is changing constantly. So you do have to be quick and you have to be on your toes. But what I do once I get a title in my head or just a couple of lines in my head, I start running with it. And when I start running with it, I don't ever go back and edit nothing. I just write it as fast as I can. And most of these songs were written in 5 to 10 minutes. Because they kind of have to be this day and age with the way things are changing so fast. They pretty much have to be. But I will get this working eventually for you. While we're waiting, do your little hard on for Hunter. Marjorie's got a hard on for Hunter. She talks about him all the time. Shows off his dick pics to Congress. They drive her out of her mind. She tries like hell to suppress it. She tries like hell to project. She's got a hard on for Hunter. At least that's what we suspect. Junior's got a hard on for Hunter. He always hands him the blame for all of his dirty dealings and the time he misplaced his cocaine. He thinks that we all can't see it, the little twinkle he gets in his eye. He's got a hard on for Hunter, and I don't think we have to ask why. With all the world's problems, getting back on our feet, breaking our backs just to make ends meet. They just can't help it. They just can't stop demanding to see Hunter's laptop. Right wing has a hard on for Hunter. He's there to divide and distract. Truth won't get in the way of their stories. They won't be bothered with facts. They all wish that they could have partied like he did back in his day. But they all got a hard on for Hunter, and the truth is they just couldn't hang. Yeah, the truth is they just couldn't hang. All right. Well, I think I might be getting closer to getting this laptop to cooperate with me so that I can see what it is that you guys are saying. So I'm going to pull this up here and see if I can't get it to work. And maybe I'll be able to see some of these comments and I can sit and converse with you guys for a little bit because I've not been able to see what you've been saying tonight. For whatever reason, my YouTube has been not cooperating with me at all, and I've not been able to see the comments. But here we go. Now I'm seeing them. So I've had to pull out my laptop and get it broke out here for you guys. And give me just 1 second here, and I'll be able to arrange this a little better so I can see better. There we go. Now we go. Yep, we're here. We're in like Flynn now. Let's see. So there we are. Yep, now I can see the comments. So that's great. And again, I don't know why that happened. It's never happened before, but for whatever reason, my comment section was just one big jumbled up mess. But there we are. You've been laughing. You've been being snarky. It's not. That's cool. So here we are. Nothing but love. I appreciate it. Love back to you. I really appreciate all of you. I'm glad that the comment section has finally got here. They're going by pretty fast, so if I don't get to all of them, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's been a fun time being here with you guys. I really appreciate it. Oh, and I wanted to let you guys know, I made a post about it right before we went live, but we hit 30,000 subscribers here on YouTube. And so, man, thank you guys so much for that. That means the world to me. You'll never believe really and truly just how fast this stuff blew up because, I started this YouTube channel that you're watching me on. I started this in 2010. Posted the first video in 2010. And, over the years, I might have had it maybe around 2,000 subscribers from 2010 up until just recently. And when I started doing the Tennessee Brando and the social commentary and political commentary, when I started doing that, I ended up developing a big following and building a big following on the TikTok app. But I never really took that anywhere else. I didn't do it on Facebook or YouTube or anywhere else necessarily. And then I was talking to a friend of mine, actually several friends of mine, about things and how everything had been going. And we were talking about how that, it had started to affect like the TikTok videos, doing the political stuff and the social commentary. It had started to affect me getting gigs as a musician. I noticed that places that used to book me on a regular basis and keep me in rotation stopped talking to me, deleted me from Facebook, stopped having anything to do, and stopped inviting me back. And so I was like, well, okay, whatever. And I was like, well, I guess I could, do this on the other platforms. And I had a friend of mine said, you know what? Said, I think you just need to lean into Tennessee Brando even harder and just be that person. Just be completely unfiltered and unapologetic on all the apps. Don't limit yourself to just TikTok. Do it everywhere. So I took the song Bill Lee as a drag to Twitter, and it blew up there, and they all started blowing up one right after the other. And so to give you guys an idea of where we were, like in July of this year, I had around 2,000 subscribers, and this is the start now of, we're almost to November. So, just between, it started happening in July, then August, September, and October. Roughly 2.5, 3 months, we went from 2,000 subscribers to 30. And so that's a massive milestone. And I have started picking up followers again on the TikTok app. I had got away from it for a while, and I've had a lot of people asking me, why haven't you been posting as much on TikTok? And the reason being is because I kept getting hit with community guideline violations. People just kept mass reporting my videos. I kept getting penalties and warnings and all this shit. And it got so frustrating and annoying that's why I took it to other platforms. And then I talked to a good friend of mine who kind of helped me to learn the ropes of TikTok a little better and how to get around a lot of that stuff and combat a lot of that stuff. And so I've been putting about 4 to 5 videos on there a day. Excuse me. I've been getting more videos on there. And so that's been going good. So yeah, I finally got my laptop fired up and I can see the comments now. And yeah, I'm glad I caught this comment. You were hanging with the wrong folks. Sad but true. You're right. I really was, and it took me a long time to realize that. I'd been a musician for so long. I've been playing since I was 17. I started learning to play guitar when I was 15 or 16. Started playing in my first garage band in 1997. I was 17 years old, and I started playing in my first garage band. And we didn't actually make it out of the garage until '99 to play our first show. And I just loved playing music to people. You know, I really did. But as time went on, I just remember, you know, there was so much I felt like the world needed to be we needed to be talking about, and I felt like there was conversations we needed to have, and we couldn't necessarily have it in those kind of places. You know, when you're playing in a backwoods bar in East Tennessee or Southeast Kentucky, that's not really the place to get on your megaphone and start talking about all the stuff I've been talking about tonight. And so I just said to myself, you know, I'm just going to go for it. I think the pandemic was really one of those moments that really changed everything, not just for me, but for everybody. I think one thing about the pandemic is it made a lot of us look into things and reflect on ourselves. And I was really burnt out playing the music that I'd been playing, and I was really burnt out playing in the places I was playing in. But then when all the gigs got canceled, it was like, wait a minute, I wasn't ready to quit. I don't want to be forced to walk away. I want to walk away when I want to, you know. And then, you know, when I started doing things like the live streams during the pandemic and things like that, when I went back out into the world, you know, a lot of times you're playing in these little backwoods places and stuff like that. And a lot of times you're sitting there and people are looking at their phones and talking over top of you. And they ain't even paying attention anyway. There was times that I would be sitting there and I would just play the most off the wall, like Wheeler Walker Jr. song just to see if anyone was listening, and they weren't. And so it was like, you know, like you said, I'm hanging with the wrong people. And so I just decided to start doing what it is I'm doing. And I don't go out and play those kind of places anymore. And to tell you the truth, I don't miss it. You know, if I ever want to play, if I ever want to get together and jam some songs with some friends of mine, I've got good friends. I can go over to their house and we can sit around and we can play some Eagles covers if we feel like it, you know. But it means a whole lot more to me. I'm just being brutally blunt with you. It means a whole lot more to me to get a tip in this tip jar over something I said and over something I believed in, and for being my true authentic self, as opposed to getting one for singing Wagon Wheel for the 10 millionth time. You know, so it's great. It's great to be here with you. And I really appreciate all of you for being there. And you're right. I think we do need protest music. I think that's what the world is missing so much of. And so yeah. And not to get sidetracked on this, but I just saw this comment from Jennifer come up. I love the Eagles. I got a really funny story for you guys. This is a non-political story, but this is great. So when me and the band would be out there before playing cover music, it was funny because I've always liked the Eagles, and my buddy Buck that played lead guitar, he loves the Eagles, but then the drummer Brian can't stand the Eagles. And so anytime we would be out there playing, and Buck would be like, hey, let's play Take It Easy. Let's play Peaceful Easy Feeling. Let's play Already Gone. Brian would be like, oh, do we have to? And so one day we were on the way home, and Buck looked over at me and he goes, man, he's like, why does Brian not like the Eagles? I don't get it. I said, hey, man, a lot of people don't. He said, yeah, I know. And he said, why is that? I said, well, I've asked him a couple of times. I said, a lot of them says it's just because, you know, Don Henley and Glenn Fry are kind of like pretentious assholes, and that's just kind of how they come off. And so a lot of people don't like them because of that. And Buck looked at me and he goes, why do I care? I'm never going to hang out with them. And I don't know what it was. You just had to be there in that moment. It hit me so funny. He's like, I ain't going to be having dinner with Glenn Fry or Don Henley tomorrow. I'm not going to be hanging out with Don Henley. Why do I care if he's condescending in an interview? He's like, I just love the songs. And I was like, well, yeah, I could see that. And so we had a good laugh about it. But I went down and visited. I went down and visited Nashville recently, and I'll tell you what. If I do want to go back because I really enjoyed hanging out in East Nashville. I've only been to Nashville a handful of times in my life, believe it or not. I mean, I don't even know if I've been there 10 times yet. I really don't know how many times it is, but it's not been a whole lot. And a lot of times I would go down there and sightsee and shit like that. But this time, I got to hang out on the east side of Nashville, which I thought was really cool. It just had a totally different vibe. But I went down on the Strip, and my idea was to go to the Garth Brooks bar, but turns out it's not actually open yet. They've just got like a merchandise store there at the moment. and they got it there. So I went in and bought a little magnet for the refrigerator, and but I'm going to go back when it opens up, and then that may be the only time I go down on the strip would be to go down there and see that bar, because man, what a clusterfuck! I mean, on every corner is somebody playing music, and it's just so loud and so in your face, and it's like, how in the world would you ever stand out there? You know, what would you ever do to stand out? But yeah, I actually did play the Doors. I played a bunch of Doors cover songs over the years. Like I said, I've been at it for a long time, over 25 years playing in bars, and man, we've definitely played. Of course, every band's played Roadhouse Blues, but we played Light My Fire. I've played, let's see, Hello, I Love You, Riders on a Storm, Love Me Two Times. I've definitely played a bunch of Doors over the years, but this tune here, I wrote this back during the whole Bud Light debacle, and Garth was like, well, when my bar opens, I'm going to, serve Bud Light in my bar. And he was like, he's like, if you don't like this, I'm going to be all inclusive. And if you guys don't like that and you can't respect that and you can't get along with other people and you want to be an asshole, there's other places you can go, which I thought was a reasonable, fair thing to say. And people just came down on him like that was the most controversial thing anyone ever said. Now, I'll be dead honest with you. I loved Garth Brooks' first couple albums. And then after a while, he just kept getting more and more poppy. And he started doing the whole Chris Gaines thing. And he kind of lost me over the years. But that was one of those moments where I was like, well, shit, if you'd have told me 20 or 30 years ago that one day I would be agreeing with Garth Brooks and disagreeing with Travis Tritt, I would have never believed it. But here we are. And so I wrote this tune called Beer with Garth, and it'll be on Shots of Truth, Volume 2. Felt like the times were changing, or so we all believed. Thought we were making progress, man, were we naive. Some folks need a hero, and that hero found his crowd and gave them all the balls to say the quiet parts out loud. Then rage became the fashion, disrespect became the trend. Assholes want to make hate great again. Politics make for strange bedfellows, and now here we are, tuning out the trits and having a beer with Garth. We get told we hate our country, we don't back their guy. We point out the obvious, they hit their gaslight. They tell us we hate Jesus while they sit and wish us death. I've read the book and they don't look a thing like the words in red. Now rage became the fashion, disrespect became the trend. It's time that we make those racists afraid again. Politics make for strange bedfellows, and now here we are, tuning out the kid, having a beer with Garth. Yeah, we're tuning out all the bullshit, having a beer with Garth. Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate it. And again, just want to apologize for the comment section. For whatever reason on my phone has not worked all night long. The comment section has just been one big jumbled up mess, but I've got them pulled up over here now. There's a little bit of a delay, but I've got them pulled up over here now. And so I wanted to take a minute to address some of those because thank you, Joe. I love your political taste because you speak the truth to the hypocrites. Thank you. Thanks for that. I really appreciate it. I do really appreciate it, and I think that's really it more than anything is just pointing out the hypocrisy. There's just so much of it out there, and it becomes like I said, it becomes a full-time job just trying to call all this out because there's just so much of it going on. But yeah, we really appreciate you guys for being here with me at the table. And getting the comments going. If we've had any trolls tonight, I've missed it because, like I said, the comment section has not been functioning correctly on my end. So if anyone out there is has seen a troll, sorry you've had to deal with it. But all those people out there, and yes, Chad was in that garage band with me. He was in the very first band that I was ever in. So yeah, we've been troll free. That's good to hear. Glad to hear there's not been any, but if there is, I always say don't let it get under your skin. They are actually, at the end of the day, they're unintentionally boosting the algorithm, and they're actually helping me succeed whether they realize it or not. Because the more they talk and the more they stir the pot, the more it hits other people's news feeds. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I'll tell you where I draw the line with it. I can put up with their stupidity all day, and I know when they're trolling and when they're trying to get under my skin. I realize that. I just draw the line when they come straight out with their racism and straight out with their bigotry, and when they start, just posting threats on people and things like that. And I've always encouraged the listeners to always let me know if someone out there is threatening you or anything like that on the pages. And I mean that for the conservatives and the Trump supporters too. It's like I've said that to them. If somebody on our side of the fence is threatening you, I don't want to tolerate it no matter which side of the aisle it's coming from. So I want it to be a place where everybody can come say what they want to. And again, it is. We just have to learn to ignore them. I do appreciate that comment. It says we need a storyteller like Arlo Guthrie. I'm not much of a country fan, but it's not the genre. It's your storytelling. Thank you. Glad I caught it live. I'm glad that you're here with me, and I appreciate that. To be dead honest with you, that's one of my favorite comments that I get from time to time is when people says I didn't like country music till I discovered you. And now that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed is hearing that, because over the years it's been hard for me as a musician to explain the kind of music I did, because whenever I'd be out there playing in the dive bars, if I said I play country music, then a lot of people would automatically think I was referring to like Jason Aldean, Luke Bryan, the Florida-Georgia line, and I'm like, no, not that. And really, I mean, even though I was leaning on a lot of influence from people like Waylon Jennings and Steve Earle and people like that, it's still, to me, it really wasn't that either. And so it just kind of become a thing that got harder and harder to describe, because then if you started naming artists that you thought you were similar to, you would have people saying things like, well, I've never heard of that. And so for a long time, it was kind of hard to figure out how to go about describing what it is I do. And then finally, I just started saying, fuck it. I'm not going to say Americana. I'm not going to say alternative country. That is the one. I kind of get Americana. I can at least get why they would call it that. But I don't get the phrase alternative country, because to me, alternative country would be an alternative to country music. So it's funny. I'm like, well, these people that they call alternative country sound more authentic. And that doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, I appreciate it. And finally, I just started saying, screw it, I play country music, and you can figure it out one way or the other. But I saw this comment go by of John Prine. He's been hanging over my shoulder ever since I started doing this. My good buddy Ryan Bupp out of Knoxville, he carved that on a wood carver. There's that one, then the Waylon Jennings one behind me here. He also did one of me that my son's got hanging in his room, and then he did one from my Zombie Town video. One of these days when we're on here, maybe on the Friday show. I'm coming back Friday, November 3rd to do a show for you guys. Maybe I'll get that one down off the wall and show it to you. It's a scene from my Zombie Town video that he carved into a piece of wood, so it's pretty cool. But I wanted to talk a minute about John Prine. He was one of my biggest influences, but I didn't discover him right away. I was probably in my early 20s, somewhere through there, when I first discovered him. And I first discovered him because a buddy of mine was writing songs with me. We were, coming up with ideas, writing songs. And one day that buddy said to me, he said, "Man, have you ever heard of John Prine?" And I said, "I've heard the name." I said, "But I'm not sure if I've heard any of his music." And his exact words to me was, "Go find the very first John Prine album and just baptize yourself in it." That's what he said. I was like, okay. And so I got it. I can't remember if he loaned it to me or if I went and got a copy, or maybe he loaned it to me and then I went and bought my own copy. I don't remember exactly how it worked. But I ended up just becoming a diehard John Prine fan. That album absolutely floored me and really made me realize that if I ever thought I knew anything about writing a song, I didn't know shit. But I saw a comment before I play this next tune. I saw a comment roll by. Someone asked where I got this shirt. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to look this up to make sure before I tell you this. I'm pretty sure there's just a website called BillLeeIsADrag.com. But I'm going to make sure. I did order this one. Well, there's different places on here that I'm seeing you can get one. I thought there was a BillLeeIsADrag.com, but I'm not finding it back. Now, here is a website that I just discovered called Music City Creative. It looks like they have it on their site, so you might want to check into that one. Yeah, they have it on their site. They've also got it in a tote bag. But I could have swore there was a BillLeeIsADrag.com that I got this off of, but I'm not finding that back. So we'll see. But yeah, if you type in Bill Lee is a Drag t-shirt, there's several places that's got it. But this one here looks pretty cool. This is Music City Creative has it. The exact one I'm wearing. They might have. Wow. Reading here on this, I came across something that says Bill Lee is a Drag t-shirts raised $33,000 for Tennessee LGBTQ plus community. That is really cool. So yeah, I would like for. I don't think that website still exists. I'm going to type it in and see what happens. See if it still exists, because that's where I'm pretty sure I got this one. Well, if you type in BillLeeIsADrag.com, it will take you to Music City Creative. So I'm assuming they've probably changed the name to that. So go check out Music City Creative, and you can definitely find it on there. But getting back to the subject of what I was talking about a minute ago, the subject of John Prine. He truly is one of my biggest influences. And on the night he passed away, he passed away back in during the pandemic, right at a time when, that's when everything was shutting down. It felt like the whole world was just circling a drain. And I just remember thinking, man, what a time to lose John Prine. How could the world get any worse, than that? And I remember I walked outside and sat down, and I was just, just kind of in shock, really, because I loved him so much. And I looked up at the moon, and there was like this picture perfect full moon, like the clearest full moon I'd seen in a long time. And I just remember thinking, I'll never see a full moon again that I don't think about John Prine. And so I wrote this tune. I call it John Prine Moon. It is available on my album Roaring 20. Wherever it is you find music, look up Brandon Fulson. That's Brandon Fulson. And you can find John Prine Moon that way. I was young, dumb, and full of inspiration. Thought I had control of my pen, till someone handed me your debut album. I had to hit reset and start all over again. You taught me how to walk in another man's shoes, how to understand a woman's pain. Now I hear you've up and left us, and I'm trying to come to grips as this crazy world circles the drain. As if 2020 couldn't get any worse. Sucks to lose a hero, but man, this one hurts. Out here on the front porch, cold wind cutting through, staring up at a John Prine moon. I threw away the book, Songwriting for Dummies, and the wasted nights became my souvenirs. The only way I'd ever find my true voice was to get lost in my missing years. Now the new year, new me has been put on hold. Everything that could has gone wrong. And as bad as it is to watch you slip away, we all just need to thank you for the songs. As if 2020 couldn't get any worse. It sucks to lose a hero, but damn, this one hurts. Out here on the front porch, cold wind cutting through, we're staring up at a John Prine moon. It'll forever be a John Prine moon. All right. Thank y'all so much, man. I really appreciate you guys hanging with me. I'm going to hang in here for a little while longer, play y'all a couple of more, and hope everyone's having a good time. Thank you for loving the Laughing Buddha. I appreciate that. And like I said, you guys can go back, and for those of you that missed it or those of you that tuned in late, you can go back and check the rest of the show out once this is over. I will definitely have it posted out there for you guys to hear more of. I finally got it now to where I can read the comment section. I had to pull out my laptop because for whatever reason on my phone here that I'm recording on, the comment section was just one big jumbled up mess, and I couldn't decipher and read them all. And so yeah, I appreciate you guys for hanging in there with me. It's been a whole lot of fun, and I really do have a whole lot of fun playing these. It's a whole lot of fun doing it because it's fun doing it for people that appreciate it. Going back to something somebody said earlier, it's been sometimes you do end up hanging out in the wrong crowd for a little too long, and so it's good to be around people that appreciates what it is you do, and you can be your unfiltered self, and you ain't got to worry about it. That's one of the most one of the most liberating parts, no pun intended, but one of the most liberating parts of all of it was just was being able to go ahead and be yourself and not have to worry about it any longer. But I'll tell you what, while we're sitting here, I'm gonna go just a little while longer for you guys, and I want to thank you so much for being with me. Thanks to everyone who's hit the virtual tip jar. Always remember, you don't have to, but when you do, it's greatly appreciated. I really do appreciate all of you and appreciate your support. But I definitely wanted to play this tune here for you because Gloria Johnson is going to be running for U.S. Senate against Marsha Blackburn here in Tennessee, and that is one race we really need to keep our eyes on, and we need to do everything we can to get people out to vote. The kicker is, folks, I really believe there is a whole lot more progressive-minded people in this part of the world. It's just they don't speak up, and a lot of them don't get out and vote because a lot of them's lost a whole lot of faith in the system, if I'm just being dead honest with you. And that's why I feel like that we need to keep encouraging people to get out and vote, and we need to keep encouraging people to stop listening to the other side tell you what a progressive or what a liberal is. Far too many times people will get on social media and they'll scroll to the first, headline that fits that preconceived notion they already had in their head. And they'll do that. Thank you, Jeff, for the tip. I really appreciate it. They will do that, and then they will listen to someone on the other side of the aisle tell them what that person believes in. And if you listen to my podcast, If These Hills Could Talk, go back and listen to the episode that I did where I interviewed Gloria. And interviewing her and hearing what she had in store for Tennessee and her plans and her ideas, she's not a person that talks in cliches and rhetoric. She's a person who tells you, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it, and this is step 1, 2, 3, and 4 as to how I'm going to lay this out to make this work. And it's going to be a race that we really need to focus on and get more people out there to vote. And I'm going to be letting you guys know what kind of events are going on around where we'll be doing fundraisers and events for Gloria, because we definitely want to get those out. I'm pretty sure. I hope I've got the date of this one right. I don't want to get it wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be one coming up on November 11th. I believe it's the 11th. It's going to be coming up in Maryville, Tennessee. And so I'll be letting you guys know about that one and let you know where they're going to be happening. But yeah, Gloria is super awesome. And sitting and talking with her in person was, she just immediately was such a down-to-earth person. I was a little bit nervous. Thank you, Jennifer, for the tip. I really appreciate you. I was a little bit nervous about interviewing her, to be dead honest with you. And then the minute she walked up and I shook her hand, it was just like anybody else you've met in this part of the world. And so we definitely need to keep the attention on Gloria in that race. And we got to stand with the Tennessee 3. Back when her and Justin Jones and Justin Pearson was expelled for standing up to the gun violence, there was a whole lot of people who thought that if they ran them out and expelled them, that they would end up somehow on the right side of history. And instead, it kind of backfired, and it made celebrities out of the 3 of them. And so I want to see those 3 continue to do good and go far. And so we'll do this tune here. I call it Stand with the Tennessee 3. They said right out loud, we ain't gonna fix it. You better get used to the blood. We took to the streets to raise up our voices. For too long enough was enough. The fascists moved quickly to silence the noise, deflect the snow no one can see. We can't let them fall, we gotta walk tall. Stand with the Tennessee 3. You want to talk save the children? Well, here's an idea. Keep them safe in their schools. No military weapons out on the street in the hand of just any old fool. If we want to see our babies prosper and grow up in this land we call free, then we cannot back down, stay strong on this ground, and stand with the Tennessee Three. No time for fake outrage, no time for culture wars. Our children are dying and we're tired of trying to reason with the lobbying whores. The blood on your hands will long be remembered for generations to see. But they'll remember a time we didn't turn a blind eye and we stood with the Tennessee Three. Yeah, now is the time we can't turn a blind eye. We gotta stand with the Tennessee Three. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for that one. Really appreciate you being here with me. And it's been a whole lot of fun. I'm going to go up till about probably 11:30. So I got a few more here to do. And we'll call it a night. But we're going to be back on November the 3rd, the first Friday of November. We'll be back here at the table. I want to thank everyone who's tuned in and thank everyone who's hit the tip jar. I really appreciate that. Don't forget that you can become a member here on YouTube for as low as $2.99. There's different tiers and different perks with each tier. But one thing you get when you're a member is you get to hear the videos early. I release most of them early, a couple hours. They will be out there for the members only to hear before they hit the public. I've also got members only content that only the members see. We've been releasing the rough cuts of the new album Shots of Truth as we've been mixing those. Tomorrow I'm going to be releasing a rough cut of the Laughing Buddha. So if you guys would like to hear that, if you're a member here on YouTube or a member on Patreon, you're going to hear that. But if not, join up and see how you like it. And if you can, if not, that's cool. Just keep on doing what you're doing. Thanks to everyone who has supported me over the years and supported what it is that I do here. I really, really do appreciate that. And also want to say thanks so much for helping us hit 30,000 subscribers here on YouTube. And that's just literally since like the middle of July. August, September, and October, it just went full speed ahead. And you guys made that happen. And so we're here now. I'll give you guys an idea of how it used to be back when I was doing these at the kitchen table during the pandemic. I think the most people we ever had tuned in at one time was 60 people maybe. And we kept it around 15 to 20 people, and they were loyal, and I love them to death for being loyal. They were great times that we had doing that. But ever since this whole thing has went off the wire, we've been up there. You know, we got 176 listening now. The last time we were on here, which was a Friday night or a Saturday night one, I can't remember exactly when it was, but we had over 400, and we hit over 1,000 likes with it, and so. I really appreciate you guys for sharing these and getting them out there to people. It really, really means a lot that you would do so. I realize that, to tell you the truth, a song like that one that I just played is actually a little bit of hard one to sing because it's so serious. I mean, it's like, it's one of those songs you almost wish you didn't have to write. It's, one of my favorite bands is the Drive-By Truckers, and Patterson Hood one time said that there's certain songs he's written that he would love it if they would become irrelevant, that he wouldn't even be having to raise that kind of awareness anymore. And so I totally get it, totally understand why it is that he would feel that way. But I'm just looking around here to see what other kind of tunes I could play you before it is that we tap out. But yeah, again, I hope everyone's doing good, and play y'all a few more. But I tell you what, man. Out of every song I've ever wrote in my life, I have got heat on songs before, and I have got a lot of hate for certain songs I've written. Even before I was doing the political satire, I definitely wrote some that rubbed people the wrong way over the years. But this one right here, man, I don't know what it was about it. It just got me more hate mail than I've ever gotten in my life. People so mad because I flipped the script on them. You know, they're always talking about Hunter Biden being a drug addict and all these things. And then anytime you see Don Jr. on TV, man, he always, you know, just looks blowed out of his mind, and he's always babbling, and he's slurring his words. The other day he was talking about home ownership, and he said like home ownership, and like, you know, just some of the most, he can't even complete a sentence. And, you know, I played plenty of dive bars. I kind of know when people are feeling no pain. And there's times where, you know, it's like, you know, they're always complaining over Hunter, but man, this dude looks kind of bomb to me. And so I wrote this tune and called it Don Jr.'s High on Dope. And man, my inbox exploded with people hating me. I still get hate over this one. But in the words of Richard Pryor, fuck them if they can't take a joke, and joke them if they can't take a fuck. So here we go. Don Jr.'s high on dope, babbling about how we all went woke. The whole family's nothing but a joke. Don Jr.'s high on dope, always talking with his hands, cheap imitation of his old man. Diarrhea of the mouth, no one's listening anyhow. Oh. Well, his daddy didn't want to name him Junior, scared to death he'd grow up to be a loser. Well, here we are, he's a crackhead boozer. Yeah, the nut didn't fall far from the tree, another spoiled brat from a crime family. Don Jr.'s high on dope, he's a lost cause, he's a lost hope. He just can't quit, he just can't stop whining about Hunter's laptop. All right. I have a hard time holding a straight face singing that one, but thank you so much. I appreciate you guys for hanging with me. We've been going about 2.5 hours, so it's been a really good time here, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it, to coming back here and doing this with you again sometime. I want to play you a couple of songs from. We'll play you a couple of tunes from some of my older albums before we go. One of my absolute all-time favorite comedians and one of my biggest influences was the late great Bill Hicks. If you guys have never heard of Bill, I highly recommend him. He's one of my favorite comedians of all time, and I'll tell you how good he was and just how on point and how topical that he was. One day I was in here, I had one of his specials pulled up. I think a couple of them's on Netflix, maybe still. I'm not sure, but they're out there. They're available. I would highly recommend watching Sane Man, Revelations, and Relentless, or One Night Stand. Those four are some of the most brilliant comedy specials ever, but I really love Sane Man, and I really love Revelations, and those are the two that I would definitely recommend you watch first. But I was in here one day watching one, and my dad came over. And he came in to get him something to eat, and Bill Hicks was playing, and Bill Hicks is talking about, you know, the Gulf War and everything, but it sounds like something that could have been written today or talked about today, and Dad was like, yeah, that guy sure is telling some truth, ain't he? And I said, yeah. And he said, I ain't never heard of him. Where's he from? I was like, well, he was born in, I'm pretty sure he was born in Georgia and raised in Texas. I was like, but, you know, he passed away back in 94, like 93, 94. I think it was 94 is when he passed away. At 32 years old from pancreatic cancer. And Dad was like, well, dang, I thought he was talking about the world today, because it's still to this day, it's that relevant. And so, anyway, thought I'd do this tune that I wrote for him. I wrote this song, and actually I became friends with his brother on Facebook, and I sent this tune to his brother Steve, and Steve was kind enough to put it on the Bill Hicks official website, so it's there. But this one's called Love, Laughter, and Truth. And I should tell the story as to why I called it that, because the story is pretty gut-wrenching. When Bill came down to die from pancreatic cancer, he got to the point where he couldn't really no longer talk or carry on a conversation. And so he sat down and wrote a letter to his fans. You can find it out there and read it. It's really, it's just really a touching, gut-wrenching letter to the fans. But in it, he said, I left in love, laughter, and truth. And wherever it is that love, laughter, and truth abide, I'm there in spirit. And so when I read that, I wrote this tune. No one asked the questions. I went searching for the truth. No one knew the answers. I went searching for the truth. Love and laughter and truth. Love, laughter, and truth. Through my dreams and visions, holding hands, me and you. We sang like no one's listening, making plans, me and you. In love and laughter and truth. Love and laughter and truth. We're stuck in the middle of some God's riddle, hoping to make it right. Are we awakened by Mother Nature, victims of Father Time? On life's roller coaster, the thrills, chills, and highs. Baby, close your eyes. It's just a ride. May not find the answers, but this path may hold the clue. We may not find the meaning, but this life may hold the clue. In love and laughter and truth. Love, laughter, and truth. I hope they got the message. We're only passing through. Spirit's never ending. I'll always abide with you. In love and laughter Well, thank you guys so much. I'm going to do y'all about 2 more, and we'll call it a night. But thank you guys so much for being here with me at the table. I've really had a good time. Once again, thank you guys so much for helping me to hit 30,000 subscribers. I can't believe we did that in just a few short months, and I really appreciate you so much for being here with me. So I'm going to do you a few more, and we'll call it a night. But we'll be back here again on November 3rd, the first Friday of November, which is not tomorrow, but the Friday after. So be sure to tune back in. We'll be at it again, and we'll have fun with it. And thank you guys so much for sharing this video and getting it out there. But I'm going to play this tune here. This is one that I wrote back in 2011. And it's funny how that sometimes when you write a song, you end up growing into it. It's like you write it and you hadn't fully lived it just yet. I wrote it in 2011, but I actually didn't end up recording it until about 2017. And it actually worked out really good because by the time I come around to record it with the band, I had finished living through it. Back years ago, I used to play at this dive bar in Tazewell Tazewell, Tennessee, called the Mustang Lounge. It's no longer there. It's a pawn shop now. But back in the day, I played that place for about 5 years straight. And, you know, I remember one morning waking up and I was extremely hungover. It was one of those moments where Sunday morning was really coming down. And a buddy of mine had sent me a text, and all it said was, "Hey, man, I had a couple of lines for a song. I thought you might could do something with it." And all it said was, "My soul is an engine running on fumes, and I'll fill it with sadness of a Hank Williams tune." And I went, dang, that's exactly how I'm laying here feeling. And so I just sat there before I ever got out of bed, and I texted the rest of the words. And I left him room for one line at the end. I said, "Hey, dude, I left you room for one line at the end. If you can throw me one line back, then I'll put the music to it and we'll have us a song." And he sent me back the line, "The longer the journey, the shorter the stay." And I went, boom. And so I got up and grabbed my guitar and wrote this tune. And then years later, you know, I went around playing it for years, but I just hadn't recorded it. And then years later, I end up going on one of my bucket list things I always wanted to do. I always wanted to take the drive that Hank Williams Sr. took when he went from Knoxville to West Virginia, the last ride where he passed away. Somewhere along the way, he passed away on that trip. And I always wanted to make that trip and go to the little gas station where they discovered that Hank Sr. was dead. And so I did that. And as I was standing there on the spot where they found Hank Sr. dead, like it was almost like the words of this song came to me all over again. And it was in that moment that I realized I had fully grew into it and understood what it was I was trying to say. And so I ended up recording it with the band, and we call it the Manufactured Twain. And shout out to my good buddy Keith Brando for the co-write on this one. Because if it wasn't for him with that first line, I never would have wrote it. And I appreciate him. Soul is an engine running on fumes, and I fill it with sadness of a Hank Williams tune. My brain is a highway, I'm rambling around. I got the heart of a poet, so I write it all down. My old friend Luke, he done drifted away, and we all struck gold on the road he paved. But the sequins and rhinestones could never shine bright as the women and whiskey and all the white lines. I'm living the life that killed Elvis, stuck in a heartbreak hotel. And old Jerry Lee tried to warn us, this car was headed for hell. We're dancing like Jesco and D-Ray, crying when the old possum sang, and laughing at all them posers making that manufactured twang. I last saw Luke on a lost highway. He left me a shadow and a price to pay. And now I stand at the edge of his early grave. I know the longer the journey, the shorter the stay. I'm living the life that killed Elvis, stuck in a heartbreak hotel. And old Jerry Lee tried to warn us that this car was headed for hell. We're dancing like Jesco and D-Ray. We're crying when the old possum sang. And we're laughing at all them posers making that manufactured twang. All right, well, thank y'all so much again, man, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I did see a comment roll by earlier where someone was asking me if I could play some Steve Earle, and I could play Steve Earle for you for the rest of the night. But the reason why that I haven't been is because here on YouTube, they're pretty strict about the whole copyrights, and that's why I have to stick to writing songs that only I wrote, because if I stepped outside of that, then I would get a copyright violation. And so a lot of times in the music world, you don't necessarily get like strikes against you or nothing like that, but it's just it won't allow you to monetize the video if you're using other people's music. So that's the only reason why that I don't do that. From time to time, for those of you that follow me on Facebook and TikTok and places like that, from time to time I will put cover songs on there. I actually have put some Steve Earle covers over there before. So Steve Earle is one of my all-time biggest influences, biggest heroes in this world. If I ever got to open up for Steve Earle, I would disappear and y'all never see me again, because that would just be like that's like the ultimate bucket list next to the drive-by truckers. But anyway, I'm going to close out with this song. This will be the last song I'll play, and then I'll wrap it up. But one of my biggest influences was Ronnie VanZant and the original Leonard Skinner band. Anybody that grew up in this part of the world and played a guitar, I mean, hell, it was almost impossible to escape their music. And it was the Leonard Skinner band that made me want to pick up a guitar and learn how to play it. And over the years, I had the beliefs that I had, and my beliefs, to tell you the truth, I'm always trying to grow and evolve and change and learn new things. And I just remember, as time went on, and the modern era band of Leonard Skinner that carried on, they really were a tribute band, if anything. And I felt like that they just sort of, not trying to knock them. I mean, there really was some good musicians in that group, but they just tended to kind of, I don't know, they tried to ride off that Southern rock coattail, and kind of any new original music they wrote was just painfully rip-offs of what Ronnie wrote. And so, he had Simple Man. They wrote one called A Simple Life, and, he had Give Me Back My Bullets, where he says, I keep on working like a working man do. And then they had a song called Working Man where they said, I keep on working like a working man do. So it was just kind of like, it always just felt like they were kind of just imitating it, and I didn't like it. But, over the years, I had my progressive viewpoints and my ideas, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Ronnie VanZant was a bleeding heart liberal, and I'm not going to tell you that, that's what he would be if he'd have lived and was here today. I have no idea. But I just know when I hear songs like Saturday Night Special and Things Going On, and All I Can Do Is Write About It and Lend a Helping Hand, when I hear songs like that where he's talking about, helping people in need, and talking about how we need to take all the guns and dump them to the bottom of the sea, I was like, well, yeah, those are definitely things I agree with. And so, I remember one time me and a buddy of mine was sitting at a bar and we were having this debate about Ronnie VanZant. And I found an interview and it's on YouTube. I found an interview where Ronnie's talking more in depth about guns, and they asked him point blank, did you mean that when you said that? He said, yes, I meant it. I meant all of them. I hate them. I don't want them around me. Now, of course, you can find pictures of him with one because they practiced out at their hell house there in Florida, and they did have one to protect themselves while they were out there alone in the sticks. But anyway, we just ended up having this long-winded debate about Ronnie, and at the end of it, we didn't really agree on everything. But I said to him, I said, you know what, man? I said, we may not agree on everything that Ronnie VanZant ever said or did, and we don't know where he would be if he was here today. I said, but the one thing we can't agree on is Ronnie VanZant never wrote a bad song in his life. Every song he ever wrote was just gold, to me anyway. And so I just kept that stuck in the back of my head, and I wrote this tune, called it Ronnie VanZant Never Wrote a Bad Song. Wrote and sang about the streets, west side shanty town. He bust them boys square in the teeth until they got his sound. Lead singer's full of priss and prance, guitar gods and dragon pants. Barefoot he just stood there like a stone. Ronnie VanZant never wrote a bad song. Stuck a dead label on his brand, he wasn't hip to the trend. Cards on the table, he played his hand, knowing how it all would end. Torture tours, bloody brawls, cutthroat dives, sold out halls. He said he'd go out with his boots on. Ronnie VanZant never wrote a bad song. That pistol that you're packing, he would have threw it away. And why in the hell would we raise a glass to that smell anyway? Well, I'm glad little brother picked up and carried on. Ronnie VanZant never wrote a bad song. Now they name drop the streets, they ain't never been to Shantytown. He bust them boys square in the teeth if he was still around. Peavy stacks 3 guitars, hanging on the stars and bars. Them southern boys always get it wrong. Ronnie VanZant never wrote a bad song. Now I'm not here proclaiming what he'd say today, but why in the hell would we ever trust a bad man anyway? Well, that one last street survivor, I'm glad that he carried on. Ronnie VanZant never wrote a bad song. All right, and a quick story before we go. Kind of a funny story, kind of a good story. Back in 1997, my mom took me to the World's Fair Park for my birthday to see Lynyrd Skynyrd when they was on the 20 tour. And it was really cool because they had the big screen come down, and they had the big screen come down, and Ronnie VanZant sang on it. They did the duet of Traveling Man. It was awesome. But went to that show and got to be on the front row. My mom took me. Now, Mom had never been to a rock and roll concert. The only thing Mom had seen at this point was like bluegrass gospel music at the Bell County High School and like Conway Twitty at Tombstone Junction, for those of you that remember that place in Corbin, Kentucky. So Mom had never been to something as loud as Lynyrd Skynyrd. And when she got there and stood on the front row, she's like, wait a minute, this ain't going to work for me. It's too loud. So she ended up going back in the World's Fair Park and finding a place to sit down and watch the rest of the show. And ended up with a little bit of a contact high. I never will forget that when it was over. Mom was like, I just need to sit here for a minute. She's like, I don't know what happened. She said, there was these people sitting beside me, because you got to understand, my mom has never drank alcohol, never smoked a cigarette, and only takes medicine as prescribed by the doctor. So all of a sudden, mom's like, I don't know what happened, but these people sitting next to me, they lit up this cigarette and it smelled just like a skunk. And now I'm just like, I feel like I'm floating. And I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I bet you do. And so, anyway, the next day when we were talking about the show, my mom was like, I said, so mom, what you think about it? What you think about seeing Skinner? And then mom was like, well, it was a really good show. She said, there was a couple of things I didn't understand though. I said, what didn't you understand? She said, well, when they were singing That Smell, she said, he's telling people that drugs are bad. He's telling people that one more drink will drown you. And he actually calls them a fool and says, one more drink, fool, will drown you. And she said, when he said that line, she said, everybody in the place raised their beer. She's like, why would they raise a glass to that? He's telling them one more drink's going to drown them. He's telling them that drugs are going to kill them, and everybody's lighting this stuff up around me and drinking and getting drunk. She's like, it made no sense to me. And I don't know. I just kept that in the back of my head. And I would be out there playing, in cover bands, and we would rip into That Smell, and I would sing the line, and I would see people raise their glass in the air. And every time they did, I would think of mom. And so when I was writing that song, I kind of got to give a shout out to my old mom there for helping me come up with that line, because it's like, why would you raise a glass to that song when he's telling you that it's going to drown you and you could potentially die from it? So just goes to show that a lot of times people aren't listening. I'll tell you something. It's funny. People really aren't. There's a whole lot of times. My favorite band's the Drive-By Truckers, and they started leaning into the politics a little bit harder around 2016 when they put out the American Band record. And they wrote a song called What It Means, talking about, Trayvon Martin and everything. And man, people got madder than hell. I can't believe they went political. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They was political from the first album. If you was listening, if you was paying attention. And I still have people, it's amazing. I still have people that I know are Trump supporters like, man, I love that new song you put out. And I was like, yeah, I was kind of bashing. But thanks for listening. I appreciate you for hanging around. so yeah. But anyway, I really appreciate you guys for sticking in there and hanging with me on this episode. And we'll be back on Friday, November 3rd. So be sure to mark that on your calendar. And the next time we do this, I'm going to have my laptop ready to go so that I can read the comments, because for whatever reason, my phone didn't want to cooperate today and show me the comments. I'm still just seeing a jumbled mess on that end. But I was able to pull them up over here and read them over here. So the next time I'll be set and ready to go, and we won't make that mistake again. But man, thank you guys so much to everybody who hit the virtual tip jars. I really appreciate your support. Don't forget to check out the YouTube memberships. We did it. We hit 30,000 subscribers. So I really appreciate you guys, because all I do is put these videos out into the world, and I never know where they're going to go or which one's going to catch on or which one people's going to enjoy. I just shoot from the hip and say what I say, and and just stand for what I believe. And I really appreciate those of you that cares enough to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and share it with everybody. So thank you so much for helping me get it out there to everybody. And we'll be back November 3rd. So be sure to watch for that. And on Black Friday, we will be releasing Shots of Truth Volume 2. And I'll be on here playing you those songs on that day. So we got a lot to look forward to. I'll have more videos headed your way tomorrow. So be on the lookout for those. And like I said, if you join the memberships, for those of you that are members, tomorrow I will be releasing a rough cut of the Laughing Buddha, the first mix that we did of it. So for those of you that have actually heard the bluegrass version, I think you will really enjoy hearing the more honky-tonk country version of it. So until next time, I'm Tennessee Brando. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again on the first Friday of November, which I believe is November 3rd. So just be sure to tune in, not tomorrow, but the next Friday, and we'll be back here at the kitchen table doing it again. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.